afternoon! So, we are finally one day away from moving, and I am so excited to get out of this place and out of this clutter. Really stoked. And another thing I'm really stoked to talk about is we are on the last chapter of our Headmaster reviews. We've done Weird Wolf, or Wolf Wire. We've done Mind Wipe, and we talked about how they were the better of the Decepticons to come out of Waves 2 and 3. So this time we're going to talk about Wave 1 Decepticon and his repaint. Titans Return Skullsmasher, or Skull Cruncher if you prefer the G1 name, and Krok. Now these two are literally just repaints of each other, one with the better paint job. What the fuck you doing? There's no new tooling, there's no new, transformation gimmicks, none of that. So essentially, I'm just going to review both of them in one shot. Going ahead and starting with Skull Cruncher, or Skullsmasher if you prefer. He's really quite a decent crocodile mode, no? That's a very nice sculpt for a crocodile. It looks almost identical to what the real thing would look like. They're both sporting their pretty good crocodile modes if you look here. Only thing that's different is on Krok there's some translucent plastic. If you look on his little back flap there, his head and his teeth are made out of the same translucent plastic. Where Skullsmasher just has the solid gray in his mouth and the solid green on his back. Articulation's pretty simple for some little Croco-formers. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now, shall we? Alright, Skullsmasher and Krok. These guys are the exact same mold, so all I'm going to do here is just go over one for the articulation, and then I'll talk about their color schemes. So we'll set Krok aside for right now, just kind of put him over there, and we'll focus on Skullsmasher. Now, his jaw can open real wide and close, and his head is on a ball joint so he can look up and down, left and right, and all over the place. Kind of give him like a little smug look. Like, haha, I know what I did, but you don't have to get me in trouble. His front paws are what become the robot arms, so you have a bicep swivel, you have a wrist swivel, and you also have an elbow joint. This does really well in crocodile mode. Like, you can prop him up on his legs, or, like he's getting ready to pounce or something like that. Like, you've got his waist swivel, which kind of helps. I mean, I don't know what you'd use it for in crocodile mode, unless you want to make it look like he's walking, I guess. And then you've got the tail, can move wiggly waggly left and right. It will come off fairly easily just because the pegs on there aren't the best. It actually holds up on Krok much better if you do it back and forth a couple of times. Also, their guns are the exact same. My Skullsmasher gun is stowed away in a tote somewhere due to the move, so we're just going to go ahead and take a look at Krok's gun. Done in a nice highlighter yellow. I really like this color. I think it fits the mold fairly well. And you can go ahead and just plop it under here. And then essentially their tails both become their weapons. Their tails are also done up in different colors as well. Krok's being obviously the highlighter yellow, purple, and black, and Skullsmasher's being the watermelon orange and the prototype gray there. But yeah, that's about it for their crocodile modes. Their crocodile modes are quite expressive. A lot more than I thought they would be. The only issue with the head is on Krok, his jaw is dangerously hard to open. Like, I've hurt myself trying to open his mouth before. So on Skullsmasher, it's super easy. But my Krok is super tight, and I would recommend somehow loosening up the head joint there, just so it doesn't get stuck. That way you don't break any of the translucent plastic or anything like that. But yeah, so there are the two crocodile modes for Skullsmasher and Krok. The exact same mold, the exact same alt modes, and yeah. And then while we're on the subject of, well, let's go ahead and take a look at both of the Titan Masters here. I believe they're the same exact Titan Masters too, just with different faceplates, because that's looking a lot like this guy here. And yeah, they're the exact same Titan Master, just this one's done up in the highlighter yellow and purple, and then Grax actually has some paint on his face. He's got that gold there. Unlike most Titan Masters nowadays, most of them just suffer from, no paint whatsoever. The faceplates themselves are quite different. Put them side to side. I actually prefer Krok's head to Skullsmasher's head. It just looks like there was supposed to be a visor for Skullsmasher, and they just kind of drew in between. So now you have like these beady black eyes, with no detail on the helmet painted in, whereas on Krok you have a little bit of that hot pink color there for both the eyes and this little crest piece on his head. And you've got the silver faceplate too, so that always makes me happy. But yeah, so there you got the two Titan Masters with their respected Decepticon partners. Oh, one more thing before I forget. Hind legs on both modes are on a ball joint, so they can go forwards and backwards. They can also go in and out. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so as you can see, the articulation on this guy is not too bad. Krok's the same way. It's not terrible. Limited in the ball joint legs. The arms are pretty simple all the way around. But now let's go ahead and get these guys transformed into their robot modes. Headmaster! And just like that, we have what I would call two of the flimsiest robots out of the whole Titans Return line. I mean, they're not bad. They're really good, and they look really nice with their teammates, but just, I don't know, those legs are just loose and all over the place. I mean, it's not as bad on Krok, but at the same time, on Skullsmasher, that thigh swivel is just way too loose. I even tightened mine up with floor polish, and it didn't work as well as I would like it to. Krok is definitely the better of the two, but just his legs are just so floppy. He's not as solid as I would have liked him to be. So him coming out in Wave 4 and Skullsmasher coming out in Wave 1, I thought there would have been some kind of improvement on the mold, but I guess not. Well, despite their mold flaws, these guys are actually pretty decent looking. The colors on Skullsmasher still pop out as much as I would love them to, except with a little added hint of gray on the chest. Krok's is a little bit better, if not more so, with the added highlighter yellow. I really wish that on both molds they had found some way to fold the legs in. I think the Weijang upscaled version of this mold did that, where they folded the legs in to form more of a heel. I mean, they stand up okay. They stand up better if you put them into an actual pose, but other than that, it's hard to get them standing stock still or in an A stance of any kind. Backpack's not too shabby, though, with the crocodile head just chilling out in the back there. It's not terrible. It's not terribly hidden away, but it works as a wonderful handle to hold them by. As I throw them on the floor. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at these Croco-Bros. Alright, so robot articulation for these two guys. Last time we looked at Skullcruncher, so I'm going to go ahead and set him aside here. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at Krok. So Krok's articulation, you've got the head. It's on a ball joint. It's on the Titan Master typical ball joint there. You've got the arms that, due to transformation, go all the way up. If you'd like, you can also go ahead and move them up and down on either side. Ball joints there. Bicep swivel, elbow joints, wrist swivels. All the alligator front leg articulation is in the robot arms. Even if you want, you can go ahead and fold up one of the arms and flip one of the paws forward for like a Wolverine type attack, if you wanted to, because that's a thing. You've got a waist swivel right there, strictly for the Transformer robot mode, and that is actually really nice. It's nice to see a waist swivel, like I've mentioned a couple times. Hip joints can go all the way out, and this is where actually I have issues with both figures. Krok's issue does not hold up. Well, now it wants to hold up, now that his legs are super floppy. Or at least they're not super floppy, but they're floppier than they should be. And then you've got the thigh swivel, and that's actually where Skullsmasher suffers in robot mode. Is I should not be able to hold him like this and then just spin him around like that on his thigh. This is probably doing wonders for the toy. Even in both of these guys' robot mode, the legs are just super, super loose. I really wish there had been an improvement between Wave 1 and Wave 4. I feel like that's something that should have been fixed, but just wasn't for whatever reason. The knee can bend 90 degrees. If you want it to, there's a transformation tab that allows it to bend even more than that. So it gives you a little bit of a double jointed knee. This leg here, I wish folded into the robot mode leg. It looks like it was designed to. I mean, it's cut out in that shape. And I know the knockoff version did this, the oversized Weijing version. Just something about this mold choice to have the alligator legs not fold in and then just have the hips all loose and wobbly on both molds. It just, I don't know, it just didn't work from hips down. From hips up, everything is fantastic and everything works super well. It's just the legs on both guys are really loose and just a pain in the butt to deal with. Paint-wise, obviously I've said it before, Krok's my favorite over Skullsmasher. I just prefer the darker and highlighter colors to the watermelon feel that I get from Skullsmasher, but I know it's extremely accurate. But that's these two guys in robot mode. If you're going to pick any of them up, I would pick up Skullsmasher just to complete the trio, but if you're going to go ahead and if you have a choice and you don't have any of the Headmasters, go with Krok. Krok's the better of the two by a mile. So, that's it for the robot articulation. So yeah, that's Skullsmasher and Krok. They're not the best molds to come out of Titan's Return, certainly not the worst, given some of their flaws. Skullsmasher may have been the worst in Wave 1 in my opinion, but he holds up over the test of time. And Krok is saved by this killer paint job and his awesome color scheme. These guys are not terrible. Don't think I'm saying that. These guys are quite awesome, especially when you put them around other beast formers. It's just the mold degradarity in the legs with the thighs being so loose and the legs being all Flopsville. Just, I wish it could have been done better. And these crocodile modes are just to die for. They're really accurate representations of what a real-life crocodile would actually look like. Even though they may be the worst out of the original 3 Decepticon Headmaster molds, they're definitely worth picking up and definitely worth your time to at least hold or experience once. And that, my friends, is Titan's Return, Skullsmasher, and Krok. Krok, being my favorite out of the two, really does it for me. Skullsmasher, he's alright. He fits in with his trio perfectly fine, and that's where I like to keep him. We are done with this trilogy, and I'm super excited to move out tomorrow. I will see you guys in the next video in a new place, and we will hopefully be settled in by that point in time. Like, subscribe, do whatever it is you guys do, and I will see you all in the next episode, and until then, bye-bye.